Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And I have another diamond in the rough for you guys. This is the first one of this season. His name is Trevor Burkhart. He's the offensive lineman out of Augustana University. Nice to have you on, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, Augustana University, not college, but university. You guys are located there in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I believe.
Yes, sir.
For people that don't know, talk to me for a little bit about you, if you don't mind there, Trevor. Give me some background about you, and we'll go from there.
Well, as you said, Augustana University in Sioux Falls. This is actually where I was born and raised in a smaller town just outside of Sioux Falls called Brandon. Both my wonderful parents, Cheryl and Tracy, brought me up, and I was raised alongside of two brothers, one older and one younger. So I got that middle son mentality, and that got me tough from an early age. And I was blessed enough to get a little sister a little ways down the road too. And football was something I came up with. I had the typical junior football story all throughout elementary school, middle school, all that fun stuff. But it became real for me in high school, and some college offers started to come in, and I took weight room really serious and all that other stuff. And yeah, that's about it as far as that goes.
Cool. So, Trevor, some of the things that I was able to find on you, I thought were fairly interesting. So, your days in high school looked to be actually really awesome as a football player. I mean, back to back to back state championships. I mean, that had to be fun, right?
Oh, absolutely. That, like I said, when high school football kind of became real for me at that point, because I was blessed enough to go to a big high school, Washington High School, and the culture was very serious around football there. My older brother was a senior and I was a freshman, and he was my only ride to weight room work. So I got to work out with the senior group, and it was a bit of a baptism by fire there, but I'm so much better for it. And I got that culture ingrained with me early on, and it was a winning culture, and I was really, really happy to be around that.
Yeah. So, winning culture there. I mean, again, so many national championships over its history. I think it's one of the better ones in the nation, actually. But you played alongside some good talent there in high school. Some guys actually going to Division One, going to Power Five Division One programs. I can't imagine like that offensive line there. Be quite honest with you. Talk about those guys. Are you still in connection with the Barnyard Brothers?
Oh, absolutely. I still talk occasionally to Will Farniak. He was the center I played next to. Started off at Nebraska, transferred to Tulsa, and then Matt Farniak. Actually, I just ran into him at a training facility nearby here, and we talked for a while. Both really great guys. And you mentioned our offensive line. We had an average weight in pounds of our offensive line at 290 all 3 years ago in that state championship, and I'm proud to say that that was a little bit unheard of at the time in South Dakota football. So we certainly had that advantage there. And I still talk to those guys all the time.
Yeah, I mean, usually in high school, it's like 20 pounds less, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, so awesome that you had an opportunity to do that. Ended up there at Augustana, which is still there in Sioux Falls. So you didn't really take a very long trip, from Washington High School. You ended up going to Augustana. Why Augustana, man? I mean, tell me about that university and what makes it so special for you.
So I was blessed enough to be able to experience a lot of different universities before I moved up because of the program I went to in high school. I got exposure to a lot of really great places, a lot of local places as well. And quite frankly, I kind of talked to myself early on and said I was going to play football at a school that I'd want to go to school at anyway. And my current degree is biology with an emphasis on pre medicine. And Augustana had a great educational program that way, as well as the coaching staff, getting to talk with Coach OJ and Coach Bakulis, my offensive line coach. I just felt it was a great culture match. My family thought the same thing upon leaving. It felt like it was more of an investment in me as a person than it was solely a football investment. And that certainly kind of closed the deal for me. And even though it is a whopping 15 minutes from my parents' house, it's still, that honestly, that laundry, being able to bring it home in freshman year was like, it made it more of a plus side than anything.
Well, I mean, hopefully that doesn't get dumped on your, family too often, but
No.
kind of a funny story at the very least. Another thing that I kind of want to mention is one of the things that you really invested a lot of your time in, man, is the weight room. You were a power lifter in high school, and I feel like that has truly helped you as a football player. Can you kind of enlighten me in that regard?
Well, as I said earlier, it was something I got exposed to very early on in high school. And the weightlifting program at Washington High School was very serious. They took attendance and everything. And we were blessed enough to have a strength coach. And it's really just a process that I fell in love with. You know, a lot of guys looked at that as kind of like a chore or like an obstacle they had to bounce over if they wanted to be good at football. But me, it was something I just enjoyed every day. Like I used to look forward to it, and it was just awesome to me. It's something I still do outside of football with my friends, and I can tell you it's totally something I'd still do football aside. And being able to integrate that into football the way that I've been able to has just been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those elements that some programs put more of an emphasis on than others. Some guys really don't push the envelope so much when it comes to like, max weight or anything of that sort. But some of the things that you've shared with me, at least recently, and I don't know, this may have changed because it's been a while since you've given me some of these numbers. We're looking at a guy with over a 450-pound bench, 675 squat. I mean, those are some D1-esque numbers, man. I mean, and again, like you said, I mean, a lot of that stems from that program way back in high school, and it's just kind of been with you forever. How is that weight room there at Augustana? Tell me about your strength coach.
So our strength coach is Brett Chambers, and being a local guy, I got to show up to all the summer workouts, and along with a teammate Blake Larson, he and I used to carpool every morning. We'd get up at a bright and early 5 a.m. to go work out with the older guys, and it's changed me in so many ways, not just physically in the mirror, but in the aspect to discipline, how I view the process, and how hard I work at stuff. And the programs he designs are those ones where if you give it your all and you really go for it, like you will see change. And I've been so blessed to work with him and the other strength coaches there at Augustana. So totally, absolutely, it has been an integral part of my game and just how I've developed through discipline in my program and such.
Yeah, so last season I had one of my guys take a look at you, and the one comment that he had to say about you as an offensive lineman is ruthless. Those are his words, not mine. When you look at yourself as an offensive lineman, what do you feel separates you from the pack? I mean, again, we're looking at a guy who mainly plays guard. But tell me about your experience there on the O line there at Augustana.
Well, I believe that everyone kind of has their own role to fill on the offensive line. You know, Coach Bakulis, my offensive line coach, speaks as a kind of a metaphor. He calls them custom suits, in that you shouldn't always try to model yourself after some strict mold. You should be the best version of yourself possible. And part of that came from me transitioning from center to guard in between my freshman and sophomore year. That ultimately allowed me to make the starting lineup as a freshman in 2019. I feel like I matched the vibe of guard a lot better in our particular offense, in that it's a lot more running and gunning and being able to just kind of embrace my style as a player, which includes a lot more, for lack of a better term, violence, and a lot more heavy hitting, a lot more being heavy handed on the offensive line, and a lot more getting to utilize my strength that I've worked so hard to get for and such. But yeah.
Yeah, so a guy who's violent. You have to learn to be violent there on the
Absolutely.
offensive line. If a guy is passive, you have to kind of wonder. So um interesting. So kind of want to talk about a little bit more football there at Augustana. Actually going back a little ways, 2021 was actually a really good year for you guys. I mean, you actually end up making the D2 playoffs, and hey, you had a solid season there. And then looking at last season, you guys hit the ground running, and actually ended up winning several games there to start out the season. But the one game that I want you to talk to me about a little bit is Bemidji, because that was the one game that I feel like they're kind of a rival, man. Let's just be real. I mean, um, talk about like that one win there in 2022 this past season.
So, as you said, as far as talking about them as a rival goes, we do have a bit of history with Bemidji, especially in my time here. They're an incredibly well coached team. You can tell the culture of their program's winning as well. And very soon, the guys on the depth chart on our team and the guys on the depth chart on their team figured that out very fast. And the history goes back to 2019 for me when it was their homecoming and they hadn't lost a homecoming in gosh, how many years? And they beat us on some crazy final drive where they just dug it out and got their win. And then in 2021, we came back and beat them in our first matchup of the year. And then they came back in the playoffs that year and managed to put the stake in us and end our season. It is a rivalry, as you said. Even though we're however many miles away, it gets pretty intense when we go against them on the field, and it's definitely a game I look forward to every year.
And so this past year, I mean, again, you guys edged them out with a victory. I mean, is there a moment in that one game from this past season that you can share?
I'd say so. Yeah, a lot of the guys in the NCAA went through that whole COVID year and all that, and you had to decide, if you're going to keep playing or keep not playing. And I'm at the point now where I feel like I've seen the same guys so many years in a row that we actually know each other's names and stuff. And it was just more so getting another shot at them. On the defensive line, their defensive tackles are no joke. You can tell those guys are every ounce of the game as it should be. And going up against them is always like more so a litmus test for myself to see where I'm at, because I know they're one of the better D lines I go up against. And watching our offense really take hold during that game and start scoring and putting together these long drives, even if they ended with a field goal, was kind of when I realized like this is one of those real games. It's one of those ones where you don't coast into them, you come into them with a mentality, and that was awesome for me.
Gotcha. Trevor, I want to ask you a hard question. So brace yourself for this one, all right? So, you're a D2 offensive lineman. The knock that everyone's going to put on you is that you don't face anybody. I mean, again, you had just shared about a great program that you guys face regularly, but what's your response to these people that say, "Hey, he's just a D2 guy, he doesn't really face anybody." What again, how does that hit you as a player?
Well, my primary response would be, give me a shot and I'll prove why you're wrong. But at the same time, I think the film speaks for itself. When you talk about collegiate level talent, especially Division II and up, it's no joke. You're talking about the top 1% of guys who came from their high schools. And there's been plenty of Division II guys who have, once given a chance, been shown exactly what they can do on the field. And really, I guess again, I think it speaks for itself when you look at the physicality of a player. You look at their dimensions, the things they're able to accomplish from a physical standpoint. Uh, I believe that though there is some merit to say that they don't really face anybody. I think that's an unfair question, because once you get the chance to face somebody, I think you can prove it all the way or you can't. So
Sure. And every single year there are guys that come out of nowhere,
mhm.
Division II, Division III, NAIA, international guys, dudes come out of the woodwork sometimes, and you're just wondering who the hell is this guy? And maybe this season it is Trevor Burkhart. I mean, who knows? So, but let's transition a little bit more, man. Like this past season obviously didn't go the way that you wanted to. Actually finished out the season by completely decimating one of your opponents, 49-0. But what's your outlook going into this upcoming year?
I think it's been a bit of a regroup during the off season. We had some depth chart struggles this last year, some trying some new things out, switching some guys around. We had plenty of graduating seniors whom we had to make up for. I believe that this season we're ready, we've regrouped, and we've really kind of got a lot of our answers to a lot of our questions as far as who's going to come into this season. And quite frankly, I'm really excited for it. We had a lot of injuries last season as well, some of which some guys played through, some of which some guys, chose to sit the season out. And that led to a lot of questions, as I said. I think we have the answers for those questions now, finally. And this momentum that we've hit this summer training with has been unlike anything I've ever seen. We have so much attendance because, as you know, these are voluntary workouts, but you got guys who are sleeping on couches and doing everything else they got to do to be up here for these. And it's pretty electric in the air right now. And I think we're ready to hit this 100%.
So with that being said, I mean, again, one of the questions that I was going to ask you, you kind of already answered, but I'm going to ask it again anyways. And that is, what are you doing right now as we are, kind of in a lull right now, waiting for the season to begin?
So right now, the summer is always a bit of an interesting time because you come from the craziness of spring ball and being a full-time student to just like a 2 hour workout a day is all you really have on your schedule, and the rest of it's open to fill how you please. Right now, I'm actually working as a patient care technician in a hospital nearby to aid with some of my pre-med resume and such like that, and to get good experience, which has been incredible, as well as really filling in all the loose spots with doing workouts and working on me as a player, and getting along with some of my teammates, really just galvanizing as much as I possibly can, putting together my portfolio, using it to expose gaps in my game and gaps in my training that I may not have noticed through all the craziness of spring, and just really trying to hammer away and put the finishing touches on that stuff. It's less of a it is a lull as far as scheduling goes, but for me, I view it as more of an opportunity to kind of kick it into overdrive before it all comes out in the fall.
Yeah, and you guys are going to be able to compete, in the NSIC and really make an impact. I mean, with veteran guys in the offensive line, with you, and also the other guy that I feel like a lot of scouts are looking at there, and Blake Larson.
Mhm.
Talk about your buddy real quick, man. Let's give him a quick shout out.
So it can be a bit of a longer shout out for Blake because he and I have kind of been the army of two on the offensive line as far as how much we work together, how much extra stuff we do on the side, whether it be going out in the field and doing workouts at 7 or 8 p.m. We have to rag on the coaches, they give us the keys for the stadium so we can go out there and stuff like that. Or simply just going to a gym and hitting some meathead bodybuilding workout together, stuff like that. Blake and I have really, I feel like, propped up the weight room culture in Augustana quite a bit because that's just something we both love. And we're guys who like to attack the process. And quite frankly, there's no one else I'd rather play next to. Like, he and I have our chemistry figured out 100%. Like, we've reached the point where dang near 90% of our communication on the field's nonverbal at this point. And it's just incredible. It comes through grunts and hand gestures and such. So it's just awesome. Totally.
Grunts from offensive linemen, really? No.
Oh, yeah. How would you have guessed?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, obviously these grunts are actually coming from a pre-med student. So, I mean, which I think is very interesting when you look at yourself, really from the lens of an academic perspective. How is class going for you, man? Talk about that real quick.
So class is going great. That COVID year was a great time for me because I know people hate to put it like that, but it was a great time for me to reevaluate classes and kind of, just focus on, everything off the field too, because that is going on as much as people don't like to talk about it. There's a lot of stuff going on off the field during that time. And it was great for me to regroup academically, get all the plans figured out. You look at a lot of other of my pre-med cohorts whom have to be all done and wrapped up in 4 years, and I'm getting dang near 6. So it was a great opportunity for me to get all that going on. I'm just really excited for that too. I mean, I'm at the point now I'm going to be taking the MCAT coming up here, so I am
Okay.
buried in textbooks. Oh, it is great. I love it. It's I feel like I never left class, but you know,
Crazy.
it, it it's kind of the people talk about the duality of man a little bit, and it's grunts and throwing on the field, and then in the classroom, it's a lot of really big words that I have to practice 3 times to pronounce right and such. But no, it's great.
Yeah, and personally, like I can't even imagine that. But um anything else that you feel people need to know about you, Trevor? I mean, any, personal interests or hobbies or something, or anything about you really that you want everybody to know about you?
Well, shoot, I mean, it's easy to see a player on the field and kind of think you got them all figured out just on their play style or how they act, their demeanor there, and stuff like that. But I mean, off the field, I absolutely love to hang out with my little sister. I like to play a lot of video games, and whenever I'm not doing school, stuff like that. I hang out with my friends a lot, just the basic college guy stuff because that's ultimately who I am. And on the field, though, it is a different person, and I love to embrace that, quite frankly, because football's an outlet for me. It's something I get. It's a place where I get to really let loose and be myself and just have a great time. And quite frankly, through the training and stuff, I get to do that. So it's awesome.
Okay. Real quick, want to throw some short question answer stuff your way. So, um, favorite movie?
Favorite movie is easily Nacho Libre with Jack Black.
That's
I can
funny.
probably recite that whole thing with my eyes closed. It
That's
is just
funny.
awesome.
I love Jack Black.
Jack Black.
Uh, breakfast cereal,
Frosted Flakes.
Frosted Flakes.
And you got to leave them in the milk for a little while so they get soggy and then the milk gets really sugary. That's the way to do it.
Okay. Pepsi, Coke, or other?
Pepsi. And that's going to be a little unpopular for a lot of people, but I came up in a Pepsi household, and I just love the flavor, man. It's awesome. The Coke, it's a little too much for me, whereas I feel like Pepsi is much more of an easy on, easy off kind of just you can crack a can wherever you're at. You don't have to hype yourself up for it, and that's why I like it.
Sure. Tell me something about your hometown that maybe not everybody knows. I mean, is there like a local spot there? I mean, I know it's in it's in South Dakota,
Mm-hmm.
but where there in Sioux Fall do maybe people really need to check out? Is there some place there, like restaurant wise or something?
Sioux Falls, I wouldn't say really anything crazy in particular that any other city wouldn't have. Sioux Falls is pretty cool because it's the biggest city in one of the least populated states in the United States. So you always get people from all over. And I have teammates come in from Texas, Florida, California, and they're like, what do you have here? And I'm like, shoot, man, like, there's a 1 to 3 chance that whatever you have at your hometown, we're going to have here. But I wouldn't say anything super in particular other than, your typical chicken spot. We have a place called Slim Chickens here that a lot of places have in the Midwest. And I tell you what, man, there's nothing that hits better than that after a game.
Awesome. Well, that's nice to hear. Trevor, do want to wrap things up with you. It's been nice just chatting with you. And obviously right now, I mean, this video is being done before the season, and you should be hitting the ground running here very soon with preseason stuff. So and the intent really is to put on a show so
Mm-hmm.
that NFL scouts are saying, who is this guy? Why does he need to be on our radar? So why don't you close us out with really just addressing them personally? So just kind of look into that camera and tell them what kind of a player you are and who you would be for their program if they took a chance on you. So go for it.
I know that I bring a mentality to the offensive line that I really don't see many other guys bringing as far as discipline off the field and on the field goes. And you had used the word ruthless earlier. I believe that's how the game should be played 100%. There's nothing soft about being an offensive lineman. And battling through some injuries or some depth chart questions are something that every team goes through. But fighting through adversity is 100% the name of the game because how often does a football game actually go to plan? And when it comes towards those real moments where the clock's winding down and you have to score, who's going to be a dog and who's going to show up and who's going to make it happen? And I believe 100% that I match that description in every way. So
Awesome. And again, a guy who could play center as well as guard. Very strong athlete, very smart on and off the field. A good teammate who understands his assignment. And really has been one of the veterans there for Augustana for people to look up to. So, Trevor, want to wish you best of luck this upcoming season and everything else that you got going on with you, man, those MCATs and stuff. So, all right.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.
Yep.
Again, Trevor Burkhart, offensive lineman, Augustana University.